Okay, cut right there. We weren't ready, Yeti. So, we talked a lot about attitude, the kind of attitude that you want to bring to recovery coaching if you want to explore that. But we also want to talk about the knowledge that you'll need to explore that too, right? Which is what the 5 days is kind of about.
One of the things that I have always found is that what's learned with joy and in safety is retained.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things that we do on the Monday morning. And I got to say, like, I love that excitement that we feel on a Monday morning. You know, we're getting the last preparations ready.
The
We're
tension
arriving.
in the room
It's
when people funnel in.
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
people will come in and they're like, okay, I don't know what this is going to be like. I
And
don't
you know what?
anybody.
Get full disclosure. There's tension here too, right? Like we're kind of going,
Oh, yeah.
what are we walking into here? Like we don't know, so it's an unknown for us too.
Yeah, yeah. And there's that little bit of anxiety, that little bit of tension, and then always, kind of making sure all the technology is working, the sound system, there's always at least one or two things that can go wrong, right? So we work on that. But anyway, people arrive. It's 8 a.m. Monday morning, and everybody's getting settled in, and inevitably there's at least one or two people that are late. My people. But anyway, that they'll come in, they'll get settled, and the bags and the flustering and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, but one of the first things we do is we do intros. We talk about why we're there, what is our status in recovery, where we're from. And, we've had people come from all the way across the country, Toronto, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. We even had a fella in one of our previous classes that came to us from
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wow, he was, that was really incredible that he would come that far. But
also, one of the things is that what strikes me, we've spoken about it, is when people start introducing themselves, like I'm stricken by the vast knowledge and skills that are in the room. Like there's like a lot of experience that comes in into those rooms, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like we get to.
Well, and the thing is that I always like to review all of the applications afresh, like the night before, because I want to revisit these applications and the names associated with it, because I want to remember what is this person, what was their heart-led reason for wanting to take this course, right? And maybe I recall conversations that we had, if we had a phone call with them, so, and I love seeing those applications come in, and we kind of go, oh yeah, this person will probably really, relate to this other person. Like we always know that the right combination of people are going to arrive in that room. It's almost like, I don't know how that happens.
But so we have this sort of this tension in the room amongst the participants. They have no idea what this 40-hour intensive is going to be like, and so we help quiet some of that with coming up with these working agreements. And the working agreements, we don't really talk much about it, but it really is like a centerpiece of this safe environment that we're going to be learning in over the next 5 days. And some people at the end of the class will say that was actually pivotal in my being able to feel safe in this and really express myself, vulnerably in this room. So what we get Shelley to do that because nobody's going to buy me doing it.
Well, it's funny because we always talk about, like what kind of relationship do we want to have? And it's actually, we point to it as an example of, it's the beginning of contracting, which we cover on day 3 or day 4, something like that.
And boundaries.
Yeah, and boundaries, right? Because we talk about like what kind of a space do we want to dwell in this week? We have 5 days, 40 hours together, so we'll have things on there like we want to have confidentiality, we want to have honesty, we want to have vulnerability, or maybe people will say, well, I want to have fun. I want to, and again, my people, right? Like I love to have fun, and often, we'll have different versions of that. I mean, you're a great jokester, one of my favorite qualities of you. We'll have 5-minute dance parties, or we'll have, and that's when the introverts will quietly go to the bathroom, and that's okay too. We kind of set up this space where it's okay to be whoever you are, and magnify whatever personality that you came to this earth with, and we'll love you for it, right? So, yeah, so just setting that up as being of real importance, right? But it's fascinating to me that people come, as total strangers on Monday, and inevitably by Friday they're saying, "Can we have like a list of everybody's names and addresses, or like phone numbers, so that we can keep in touch?" Like we just like you fall in love with those people after being in that room for 5 days.
Yeah, and those working agreements set in place this safe environment for all of these sort of emotional prickly bits to be occurring all week long. Like it's an emotionally stirring week, and it's important that we have this safe ground to be able to experience that in with each other, shed some tears and laughter and all that kind of stuff with safety, so that that it can be felt fully. And I think that those working agreements, although we don't talk a lot about them, really do set the stage for what is to follow.
And that, that knowledge that's learned with joy, with safety, some of those pieces are, around examining our biases, examining, like, who am I? Like, what am I all about? Examining relationships and the nature of those relationships. How we treat people, right? Do we treat people as an object? Or do we treat them as being resourceful, as having all the answers they already need? We talk about cultural awareness and humility. We talk about, stigma and labels on day 2, sexual harassment, what to do with those situations, right? So,
and we talk about that knowledge. That some of that knowledge just sort of fills in some of the blanks for folks, but also importantly, what it does is some of that knowledge displaces what we thought we already knew about addiction and recovery. Those can be some of those prickly points, is that people come in and they've got some firmly held ideas about what addiction and recovery really is, and then they get presented with this new evidence, and it can be a little bit destabilizing, because I thought it was this, and I thought this was the only way to reach recovery. And then we find out there's this whole host of other ways that work as well. And so we have to sort of open up and kind of accept those as well. It can be a bit of a tricky little bit of business for some folks, but it's important having that knowledge. And being able to adopt it into our belief systems.
And I remember, one of our trainings, there was someone that had told you only later that, he was feeling like he was done by Tuesday. Like, I don't think I'm going to make it back. But he went home, he thought about it, and decided, okay, well, I'll stick it out. And he was so grateful that he did by the time he got to Friday. But some of these ideas can be so challenging. They can challenge some of our beliefs that we have. Like, one of the ones that we talk about is, you're in recovery when you say you are. And for, a lot of people, and I think you described that you pretty much, stood up and when you first took the training and said, that's not right. They have to show me that they're in recovery. They have to tell me, or they have to show me through their actions that they are actually in recovery. And we do hear that, many versions of that through the trainings that we've had, right? So just kind of easing over these sticky bits. We don't have to try and convince anybody of anything. And, sometimes it's a bit of a process, right, to get through. So, yeah. But like we put a room full of people together and we just don't know what might happen. But, those are some of the things that can become very activating at times. Examining our biases, motivational interviewing, another piece that we start on Wednesday, which is, one of my favorite pieces, because it really is a way of being with other people. And we do role plays with that. And for a lot of people, that
real
can be
plays.
And real plays too. By Friday, we do real plays. We start with role plays. We dip our toe in the water with role plays. We give them a scenario. And by Friday, they're working with each other with, working on wellness goals, and then it becomes real plays. And that's where it really comes alive and becomes real, because when you're actually working with someone that you've had the pleasure of getting to know through the entire week, and then they're, being vulnerable and honest about, maybe I'm still smoking cigarettes and I really want to change that, So working and strategizing with a new coach, allowing them to exercise those good skills of active listening, asking good open-ended questions, practicing non-judgment, all of those sorts of things, goal setting, SMART goals. It can be really fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really, there's this cauldron of learning, and we aren't, immune to it either. Like I say that, like, through each of these courses, like, I've learned a ton from the class. It's just this sort of swirling of learning, and I come out of it a different man than went in every time, because I learn so much from this swirling
Yeah.
learning that happens.
Well, and because, we learn from the participants in the class as well, right? Yeah. Some of them, they bring a lot of their experience, they share, and we get to learn from them as well. So it's really a beautiful back and forth, not only with us, but for each of the participants and with each other. And it's really transformative. We had one of our past participants that had said that this was as much a personal growth journey as it was a professional training.
Yeah.
And that's really true.
That's words like transformational.
Yeah. Like something that we've had, university educated people with master's degrees that have taken a ton of training.
Yeah.
That have said, like, I've never taken something so transformative as this course, right? Yeah.
So they come out of it sort of this wide-eyed, holy smoke, I didn't know all this stuff. But there's that big question mark. How do I put any of this to work? Like, how do I possibly, now that I know this stuff, how do I actually set it in motion?
And that's skills development.
Yeah.
And we always recommend it. It's totally optional. But for us, that mentorship that follows the 5-day training is really where the rubber hits the road, because that's where you actually get to practice those skills. And I often liken it to the idea of going to, another country, doing a 3-week language learning intensive, and coming home and never having anybody to speak Spanish with or French with or whatever it is, right? So yeah. It is kind of learning a new language, a new way of being, and that takes practice, right? So, and the beautiful thing about it is that mentorship piece, it's held online once a week, but you get to see a lot of the same people that you just spent a transformative 5 days with.
Yeah.
And, that makes it fun and exciting. And, people can join in as soon as the following Tuesday or Thursday after. And, it's pretty awesome, actually, because...
And jump on the forums between classes and...
reconnect.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about that in our next video, about how to keep those skills active and alive and practice and get better and better.
And moving towards just becoming the very best recovery coach you can.
Yeah, day by day, because we believe that is a continual process. We never actually arrive.
Yeah, it really is the master coaching mindset is continually learning over and over and over again.